Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to Sweetwater's Guitars and Gear. This time out, a new multi-voiced compressor pedal from TC Electronic. Let's get started. Today, Don, Carr, and I are checking out HyperGravity, a new compressor pedal from TC Electronic. This pedal is very interesting because it actually has three different voicing modes. There's a vintage mode, a Spectra mode, and then TC's proprietary TonePrint mode, which allows you to load in customized sounds. So Don, most compressor pedals really are kind of one-trick ponies. They have a tone. You dial them in and they work for a particular sound, and a lot of them are great for that. But this one really gives you some options for really customizing the response of the compressor.
Yeah, I mean, all three of the settings feel completely different. And then, of course, with the TonePrint, you can make it whatever you want.
Right, you can load in all kinds of different custom sounds, and we're going to take a look at how those tone prints work in just a little bit. But first of all, let's check out the pre-programmed sounds that are inside the HyperGravity. So let's go ahead and begin with the vintage setting. All right, so we'll flip down here. Now, where do you want to go? Do you want to have all the knobs set to 12 o'clock?
Sure, let's start there.
Okay. And tell us what you're playing.
Fender Strat.
Okay, and we are running through a Blackstar Artist 15 amplifier. So let's start out by listening to our clean, unprocessed tone. Nice. All right, we'll bring this in, put our settings all at 12 o'clock. That's kind of that classic guitar compressor pedal sound, right?
Exactly.
Gives you that nice fat bottom end. Kind of clamping down.
Yeah, grabs pretty hard.
Grabbing pretty hard.
In a good way.
Yeah, and it's going to give you a nice sustain, and it's a fat sound.
Right.
But we have control for shaping that as well. There actually are 4 controls on the front panel of the HyperGravity. We've got an attack control, which sets how fast the compressor starts to act upon your signal. We've got a sustain control, which sets how much compression you're getting. A level control for setting the output level. A lot of times when you add compression, the level actually drops. You can use the level control to balance that with your dry signal or to add a little bit of boost on the output. And then what's really nice about this pedal is you've got that blend control.
Yeah, because then your dry signal stays true all the way through.
Right. You can actually set it up to where you're not getting all 100% compression.
Right.
It's not 100% dry. You can kind of blend the two together. It lets you really compress the signal heavily, but still have dynamics in your playing.
Absolutely. You can still hear the pop of the attack that way.
Right. Let's check out what some of these controls do. So we'll turn the attack all the way down. So at that point, it's really not clamping down super hard. It's kind of letting the attack or the transient from your pick attack go through. When we turn that all the way up, you can hear how that's really grabbing hold of the signal and compressing it right out of the gate, so it's really clamping down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now we can affect how much of that we're hearing by using the blend control. So we can go from totally dry. What you're hearing there is just the guitar basically going straight into the amplifier. Turn that all the way up, and we're hearing 100% compressed signal. And we can balance the level using our level control. That's really grabbing hold.
Yeah.
All right. Now we can set the blend so we can adjust the amount of compression to taste. So if we set that back to about 10 o'clock, I'm going to bring the level back up a little bit. Let's hear that. You've still got some dynamics there,
right?
But you're getting that sustain and that round signal that's coming from the compressed side of things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice, I mean, it's just having the blend control is just invaluable.
Absolutely, yep. I love having a compressor with a blend control. Now we can set how much compression we're actually getting by turning up the sustain control. If we set that to minimum, we have a very small amount of compression. I'm going to turn up the blend control a bit on this as well. Now we'll raise that sustain control. And again, we can adjust that to taste using the blend control and our level control. Maybe set the attack back a little bit. So whether you're dialing this in for playing lead tones, whether you want to play funky rhythm parts, or you're using it to add sustain when you're playing a distorted sound, you can really tweak things and make them respond exactly the way you want them to. Now let's check out the other voicing mode that's built into the HyperGravity, and that's spectral mode. Now what's interesting here is that the pedal is actually splitting the input signal into 3 separate frequency bands, and this lets you compress those 3 bands independently, so you can have a different amount of compression on the low end than you do on the mid-range or on the highs. This lets you create a nicely balanced signal. A lot of times what can happen, particularly with humbuckers, is when you add compression, they get boomy and it gets kind of sounds like an overinflated balloon.
Yeah, exactly.
Put them on.
Well, you know, the low end pushes so much more energy that it's going to work the compressor harder. So having those separate bands is just, you know, really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. It lets you really, again, lets the compressor operate in a very neutral fashion so you get a balanced response. So let's listen to this. I'm going to turn the sustain all the way up. We'll turn the attack all the way up. And I'm going to turn the blend all the way up so we're just hearing the compressed signal. So here's our dry sound. And now here's our compressed sound. So we're really compressing the signal hard there, and it's 100% compressed signal that we're hearing, yet it's still nice and balanced. We're not getting that boominess on the bottom end. It's a really even, neutral tone. Now again, we can adjust this to taste. Maybe we don't want quite that much sustain, bring the attack back a little bit, set our blend to about 50%, and we'll bring our level up. Nice. So with those two modes, you have two very distinct sounds inside the HyperGravity, and then you can tweak them using the front panel controls to really get exactly the sound that you want. Where things really get fun with the HyperGravity is when you load in a TonePrint. As I mentioned, a TonePrint is a customized sound, and there actually is an editor that you can run on a Mac, a PC, or an iPad that allows you to create your own sounds and then load them straight into the HyperGravity. So let me get that set up for you and we'll check it out. To use the pedal in TonePrint mode, you simply set the selector switch here to the middle position, which is TonePrint, and connect it up to your computer with a USB cable. In this case, I'm running the TonePrint editor, which is a free download from the TC website on my MacBook Pro. When you open up the TonePrint editor, you have several different ways you can look at the different tone prints, which basically are stored presets that you can load into the pedal. You can look at the featured presets, which is this first screen. You can sort by artist. There are a number of different artists who've created sounds, including sounds that I custom created with Tor Mogensen from TC when he was out here visiting Sweetwater. Those are down here under the Sweetwater setting. So we've got a number of things there that we custom created when he was visiting us. You can also look at presets by product. In this case, we are looking at the HyperGravity, so we'll scroll down to that and select it. And when we select that, it will open up all of the possibilities there from different artists or different people who've created those. In this case, the only tone prints in here have been created by TC Electronics. When we click on that, it'll show us all the presets that they've created. We can select favorites, so we can quickly go back to the presets that we like. But basically the way this works is, we select one of the presets. I'll choose One Band Classic Comp. When it opens up here, we have a description of the tone print that says it's a classic full band compressor. When we click the button, that preset will be sent over to the pedal. It's that easy. The tone print is now loaded inside of the HyperGravity. Don, go ahead and play for us. That's a nice classic single band compression tone. Now, as we've seen with previous tone print pedals that we've looked at here on Guitars and Gear, you can actually load those presets in using your smartphone. All you do is hold your phone up to the pickup in the guitar and it'll load straight into the pedal. So it's very easy to do that. You don't have to have the computer connected. But when the computer is connected, it's very easy to look through the presets and also to create your own presets as well as modify existing presets. Let's take a look at how you create your own presets or modify an existing one. We'll click over here to the editor screen, and we're presented with all the different parameters that we can use for setting things up inside the HyperGravity. Now we have 4 controls on the front panel, but there are a lot of controls that are actually inside, a lot of parameters inside the pedal that we can adjust using the software. Those parameters are located here at the top of the screen, and we can scroll through those. You can see how many different things we can work with. So lots and lots of different parameters there. We can also load in different templates for different types of tone prints. We can reload templates that we've used before. We can store templates inside of the TonePrint app, or you can store your own tone prints inside so you can build up a library of your own custom presets. And once you're finished, click Store to Pedal, and whatever you've been working on inside the editor here will be transmitted into the pedal and be ready to play. One really cool thing is that you actually have two-way communication between the pedal and your computer. So if I actually turn the sustain control, we're adjusting the gain curve as well as the dynamic response. You can see those curves moving there inside the software as I turn that knob. Same thing with the level control. We can adjust the overall level of the compression. You can see a variety of different parameters are changing there. We can change the attack. We can also change the blend control. And depending on how you have those controls assigned, different parameters are going to be moving. Now you're not limited to just the parameters that are labeled here on the front. You can actually make these controls be anything that you want. So for example, there's a tone print here in the editor called StratoComp. This has been specifically designed for Stratocasters, like the one that Don is playing. It gives you a very balanced response with single coil pickups. Don, go ahead and play for us. Nice. Now you may have noticed that the volume level came way up when he played through that particular tone print, and that's because auto makeup gain was turned on. That's a function inside the pedal and inside the editor that allows the compressor to basically choose how loud it's going to be on output so that the level remains very constant. So we can turn that function off, and now at this point our output level is set by our level control, so we can balance the output versus the input. Now we're not limited to the parameters that are labeled on the knobs here on the front panel. We can actually assign what the parameter is that each knob is controlling. So for example, the sustain control in this case is mapped to be the threshold for the compression. You can see that moving up and down as I turn it. But the level control has been set to not only adjust the level, but also to adjust the spectrum. So that means that it's changing the relationship of the highs, the mids, and the lows. And you can see that on the screen here. So if I turn the level all the way down, the red line indicates the highs, the yellow line indicates the mids, and the blue line indicates the lows. In this case, we've turned the highs down, turned the mids down a little bit, and boosted the lows a little bit. Don, play that for us. If we turn the level control all the way up, you'll see that relationship changes. Now we're boosting the mids and the highs, and we're cutting the lows a little bit. It's a very different sound. We've also changed the level a little bit there as well. Now we can adjust that to get exactly the kind of spectral response or the kind of tone that we want. So here we're balancing all three of the bands. Go ahead. Much more neutral sound.
Right.
So we've got threshold on the sustain control, we've got that spectral level control on the level control, and our blend control is actually a ratio control, which sets how the compressor responds to the signal once it crosses the threshold or once it goes into actual compression. So in this case, we have very little compression. You can see above the knee point, or that angle point there on the graph, we've got very little gain reduction when we cross into that. Go ahead and play. Now if we turn that blend control up, which again in this case is controlling ratio, you can see that we're going into much more heavy compression as soon as we cross the threshold. That's really grabbing hold a lot quicker, isn't it?
Right.
Now, you don't have to be an expert on manipulating studio compressor parameters to use the HyperGravity. It's very easy to go in, just fool around with the controls. You're not going to hurt anything. You're not going to break anything. You can easily set them back. The cool thing is you can instantly play through the pedal and hear the changes that are happening as you're adjusting the parameters inside the TonePrint editor.
And not only that, there are tons of great presets in there already.
Sure, so you could just call something up, load it into your HyperGravity, either from your phone or from the computer, and play it instantly. You don't have to do any editing if you don't want to. But if you really want to get in there and tweak, all that power is available to you right here inside the editor. Once you're happy with the sound that you've created, store it to the pedal, which basically locks it into the memory inside the pedal, and you can also store it inside your computer and build up your library. So we will call this new entry. We will call this Don's Comp with an extra S. Store it. And now that shows up here under our user tone prints. We can recall it at any time. I hope you've enjoyed this look at TC Electronics' new HyperGravity. It's an extremely versatile compressor pedal. Sounds great whether you're after vintage tones or whether you want something more modern or if you want something you've never heard from a compressor before. Very cool pedal. Yeah. Thanks, Don, for helping me out demonstrating the HyperGravity. It was great having your licks playing through the compressor. And thank you for joining me for Sweetwater's Guitars and Gear. Be sure to tune in next time. We'll have more guitars, more amps, more effects, and we'll be making lots of music. I'm Mitch Gallagher.